Hey ManCavians, this is Bob from DaBob's N-Scale ManCave. We're going to review these two locomotives in just a bit. So this is your first time coming to DaBob's N-Scale ManCave. I want you to consider subscribing down below, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment and tell me what you liked or didn't like about this review of these two locomotives. So let's get to it right now. Okay, this is number 57. All the locomotives and rolling stock pretty much come very well packed. This one is not any different than those other ones. Nice wrapping. Take the plastic off here. I'll set that down there. Set this off to the side. So, some of the first things you can tell on this is, well, basically, it has 4 sets of trucks. I mean, it's rather large, and it looks really neat so far. A lot of radiators on the side, and that is needed due to the turbine on the inside needing an extreme amount of air. It basically is a jet engine on the inside of this locomotive. Maybe not this exact locomotive, because this is a model of the real thing, but as you can tell, it does look distinctly different than any other model you have seen before out there with diesels. Anything in like the Big Blow looks completely different as well. The Big Blow has basically 2 sets of trucks, one in the front, one in the back, but those are 8-wheel trucks, not just 6 wheels. So in this case, they decided to split up the trucks into 2 sets of 4 wheels, and makes it probably go around the corners a lot easier that way. Okay, so as we're looking at the front, you got headlights up here in the front, nice logo up there as well. X57 is this one, and got the horns, looks like windshield wipers on there molded into the windshield plastic. Nice green top up here to reduce glare from the sun. And you've got some detail on the front snowplow and everything else up here, the coupler cut lever over on this side, even air hoses over here. Since this is a rivet counter version, it is their top of the line version of these models. There is no other version of this model except for rivet counter. So what you see is what you get, the best of the best. On this side, you pretty much see the same thing as you did on the other side. You got these step ladders, and these handrails are separately applied because they're loose a little bit, so you got to be careful with that, but they're still pretty tight. Ladders climb up to that door. Got the logo, fuel tanks. On the top, you've got some exhaust stacks up here in the front, and you got some more grilling up here as well. Highly detailed. I think they went all out with the detail on this, that's for sure. That's what Scale Trains does. You have some grab irons up on top, the horns. A lot of interesting detail up there on top. You got a ladder on the back, brake wheel, handrails, rear light, and the standard details on the coupler area as well. And that looks pretty good. It's a standard bottom, not a whole lot of detail underneath the trucks, but the trucks look like they're all one kind of assembly, and so they're kind of tied together with a little jumper in the middle there. And you can kind of see that right up here where there's a bar that goes across. I don't think the inner wheel sets are drivable, but it looks like they're there for electrical pickup, and the rear wheels and the front wheels are the driving wheels. Yeah, you can kind of tell that by the gearing. There's no gears on these, but there's gears right in here. Same on the back. So basically you have an 8-wheel or 4-truck drive set here, not a 16. Probably just a little too difficult to build it like that. Let's get some close-ups. Okay, we're going a little close up here. You can see all these fine details with the grilling on the side, the air intakes. The truck detail is very nice, and I like how it's so smooth. I guess they didn't put a lot of piping on the sides, but you can see the springs and the brake shoes, all that stuff. The back side here. And let's look at the top. And you can see the details inside the cab. I do have a couple chairs in there. It's not a painted cab, so everything's gray. But if you really want to dig into it and paint your cab, go for it. Okay, there's the front. And this whole bumper thing here articulates side to side. And you can see all those details. Okay, this is number 51. And as you can tell, it looks a little different from number 57 in the sides, where the grills are different size, different shape, different positioning. It seems like they kind of covered up some of the areas here and didn't put the grills in. So they have a slightly different style. These are all prototypes, so they were always changing how things looked, how they functioned, to get the best efficiency out of the locomotive. Basically, it looks about the same as the other one, with the same features, with grab irons on here climbing up for the doors, with the ladders, the 2 sets of trucks on the front and the back. The front looks pretty much the same as the other one. And same thing on the other side as well. You do have glass in the rear doors, so you can see what's in there. And actually I kind of see a wire right there. Let me get a closer view. You can see that wire right there. End scale is a little bit hard to hide everything, so you're bound to see some of that stuff. Scale trains usually does not have those things shown. They hide it pretty well, but you can't hide them all, I guess. And the rear detail. And we're going to go with the top detail. It looks a little different. There's a little stand or something back here on the back end The piping's a little different. But for the most part, it's pretty much identical on top as number 57. Like the color, the yellow stands out really well. The bottom is basically the same as the other one. These do come, this one here is DCC and sound. Both of these are DCC and sound. So what makes this one different than the other one is it comes with a tender. And so these tenders were recycled from other locomotives, other steam locomotives like the 412-2. And so they were repurposed for these purposes. The problem with without using a fuel tender was you couldn't get very far. You could get from Ogden to Green River because these things burned about 900 gallons an hour to operate this locomotive before it had to fill up on Bunker C fuel oil. So they incorporated the tanker tenders, the fuel tenders, and it gave their range a lot more distance. You know, you could run for a couple more hours, or well, probably about 2.5, 3 more hours with the 22,000 gallon fuel tender. Nice Union Pacific on the side. Truck detail is very good. You do have an F on one end because that's the front side, obviously. And you got the nice walkway up on top, see-through walkway. On the back side there is a tail light, and the tail light will light up when you put it in reverse if you have your headlights on. And so that's the fuel tender. So we're going to take a look at number 51 and see how it sounds, and we'll run it through its paces. Pull some train cars up at 2% grade. So let's start it up. Okay, let's hit F3, the turbine startup. And there it's fully running. Okay, we're going to start with some operations here. If you can see what I'm seeing here or understand what's going on, there are 2 drive modes. One is Hostler mode and the other one is with the turbine. So Hostler mode is when it's basically a in the yard kind of unit that's used to warm up the fuel oil and to move the locomotive around without having to start up the turbine and burn a lot of fuel. So it's just there to move it around and get things positioned. So we're going to start off going forward in Hostler mode. We're on 1 and 2, we're at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you can tell, it is running really smoothly and slow. Because in Hostler mode, it's not supposed to go fast. So I'm at speed step 20 right now. As you can see, it's crawling along. And if I slow it down, and it stops. Let's take a look at this in turbine mode. Okay, to start up the turbine, you press F3. And as you can hear, that's really a high-pitch whine. So that started. So we're going to start going speed step 1. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we'll get up here at 20. And it seems like it's moving a lot faster than the Hostler mode. And I shut it down. In reverse, we're going to go off to 10. 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. And it stops pretty fast. Let's take a look at some of these functions. Okay, we're going to start off with some sounds. There's not a whole lot of sounds in the list, even though the instructions show a bunch. It's kind of a generic mapping for a wide variety of different locomotives that they make or that ESU could have programmed. But in this case, we're going to start off with the horn. And the bell. Sounds really good. So let's take a look at the lighting. Okay. Here's the headlight off. Headlight on. And then there is what's called a gyrolight, which is F7. Let's press F7. And you get this kind of a little gyrolight above the headlight. Turn the headlight off. And you can see that. A little flashing. Then also there is a UDE light, which is F6. And that UDE stands for undesired emergency light. So press F6 and you get a red beacon. It kind of shows the oncoming traffic that there's an emergency with this locomotive, this train. Turn that off, turn the headlight on, and there it is. Okay, the tender has a light on it, and it only works when you put it in reverse. So when I put the locomotive in reverse, the headlight goes off and the tail light comes on. And that is by pressing F5. You can get that to work. But it does flip back and forth when you have the headlight switch, or when you have the locomotive switch directions. Okay, some people may have noticed that over the years the couplers have had some issues. The early versions of couplers, they were pretty stiff and they wouldn't easily couple with other brands of rolling stock or even with own scale trains couplers. You almost had to smash them into each other at about 30 miles an hour before they would couple. The springs were just too tight. Well, they have fixed that, but as you have noticed in the past, the bad couplers were brown color like this. And then the rolling stock versions, they changed to a black coupler so you could really see the difference between them. But now they are back to a brown coupler, but that's just the color of the coupler. Let's test how easily they couple. So I'm just going to slightly push that together. It doesn't really couple. I just lightly tapped it and it is coupled. So very easy to couple. Probably prototypical speed right there. Just stick it in the middle and out it comes. when you try to separate it. Really easy and compatible with microtrains couplers. A lot of people will be using those kind of rolling stocks with these, and they also couple real well to your scale trains rolling stock as well. Okay, we have the locomotive up and running in turbine mode, and let's just take it out of this yard, pulling some scale trains, hopper cars, covered hoppers actually, and get going here. Now it's going up my helix. There's the end of the train. I'm at 30 speed steps right now. Now let's speed it up here. Go up to 50 speed steps. And it seems like it's pulling this up nice and easily, but in some of my testing I tried adding in some other cars on there that seemed a little bit heavier, like some double stack cars, and that really weighed down this train. So I think we're about at the limit is what you can see right now. With those other cars on there, a lot of wheel slip happened, and it just did not want to climb. Okay, we have 2 of these standard turbines going to pull that a long train up the 2% grade helix. Let's take a look and see how this does. Speed it up a little bit. And 2 of these engines is pulling this up just fine. One engine couldn't get around this first loop. A little bit too much weight for it. This is working out just fine. I'm at 50 speed steps. I'll crank it up to 100. And pulls it just fine. Well, final thoughts for this review of the Scale Train Standard Turbine. First thing I notice on the documentation is that it says HO in the corner, but this is N scale. Is that a sign of things to come in HO scale? You never know. I don't have any insider information to prove that theory right or wrong, but based on the sales of N scale, HO probably could do pretty well, since N scale is completely sold out at Scale Trains, and you can only find this at your local hobby store or online retailer. You're expected to pay $230 for the non-tender version and $275 for the tendered version with DCC and sound. Why would you want to get it without sound, by the way? I mean, it costs less, but it just kind of defeats the purpose, because most of the detail is in the sound and the lighting and DCC lighting effects, of which there's a gyro light. It's a white flashing gyro light. Also, there's a red UDE undesired emergency light that is also a gyro light. There's also a tender in the back that when you put it in reverse, the tender reverse light comes on and the headlight goes off on the locomotive, and vice versa when you switch back and forth. Kind of expected. Also, the number boards light up when you start rolling forward. There's a bunch of other little features and functions like drive hold and so forth that help make this experience a lot more enjoyable. I didn't get to test all of them. Some of these had to be probably functional when it's actually driving, so a little bit different aspect, but all the instructions are inside this book, along with turning down the volume because it is pretty loud. You're going to need some ear protection if you really find it irritating, pun intended. So just those things to let you know. Also, the 2% grade pulling test didn't do as well as I thought because there's only 8 of the 16 wheels are having tractive effort due to limitations in the ability to put gearing in those center trucks. So they're just used for electrical pickup, and the outer trucks are used for the pulling power. So lighter trains will be easier to pull up a 2% grade, but on a long stretch on 1% or less grade, these could pull easily a longer train. And if you double head it, no problem. So I give this a great big thumbs up, and I hope you enjoy this review. And if you get one of these locomotives, I hope you enjoy it as well. So as always, ManCavians, if you like what you saw here today, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. And if this is the first time visiting DaBob's N-Scale Man Cave, consider subscribing and ringing that bell down below as well to get notified of new and future videos as they come out. And as always, ManCavians, happy model railroading. You stay off those tracks. Bye.